What's up, everyone? It's Dakota, and welcome back to another modern video. And this week we're getting a 2-for-1, just to kind of up the amount of sweetness. This is a deck that I wanted to go over, and I kind of was like, oh, I should do this deck. I should do that deck, and I kind of had this one go to the wayside. And it's actually a deck that does something really sweet, does it relatively consistently, and does get to play some wacky cards that do enable the strategy quite a bit. That on the surface, seem very low power level, but actually, impact a game a lot higher than you would expect them to. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at the 4-color creativity deck for the modern format. Let's go and take a look one. So we have the 4-color creativity deck for the modern format, piloted by Elbagast, that took 6 and 1 in the Swiss, good enough for first place in the modern challenge. I believe that was this past Sunday. So before we get too deep into this 4-color creativity pile of hot cardboard, you guys have been killing it, honestly, on the subscriptions, the likes, and the views of the video. I mean, like I've now gotten to a point over the last month that I feel like I'm reaching like the potential of like what this channel can be. And it's all thanks to, all thanks to you guys, the people that subscribe, the people that constantly come back and watch my videos and stuff. Y'all are awesome, and I really can't say how much I appreciate it. Um, and it honestly drives me to want to like make videos every single day. Now, with obviously my personal schedule and things like that, it's very hard for me to do that. It's even very hard for me to make like the videos that I am able to make. But, with the support of like the community that we're starting to build and everything, it makes me want to keep pushing and doing it. So I just want to say a big shout out and thank you to everyone that's supported my channel up to this point and everybody that will support my channel at this point. You're all awesome. So that being said, if you're currently watching this and you're not subscribed, go ahead and look at the little subscribe button, and if it's red, go ahead and click it. So then when I post videos, ring that bell as well, because that will doubly help. So you can watch them as soon as they come out. Also, feel free to join the Discord. I have the link in the description below this video. Um, Basically, talk about Pioneer, Modern, really anything in between. Like we're all just a chill group of people. Had a few people join so far this over the past like week and a half, so that's been awesome. But yeah, enough personal shilling and things like that out of the way. Let's check out this cruelty deck. So this deck has a few moving parts to it. You have cards like Indomitable Creativity, which is basically what the deck's named after, partly. You either find them as like Creativity or Archon of Cruelty. I would assume more of the creativity decks are more focused on getting different things than just Archon, but Archon is probably by far one of the best creatures that you could feasibly cast that also just like do super powerful things when they come into play. I mean, for God's sakes, Archon of Cruelty is just gets to be cruel ultimatum when it comes into play. It's great. Um, but the few moving pieces, there's cards like Abdominal Creativity, which actually says that you destroy X target artifacts or creatures, and for each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals the top card of his or her library until an artifact or creature is revealed this way, and you exile that card. You put them onto the battlefield from exile. You put the cards exiled onto the battlefield, and then you shuffle the library. So, like, you could in theory, destroy some of your opponent's creatures and their artifacts and stuff. They will get to search until they reveal an artifact or a creature, but mainly you're doing this for you. So like getting to set it up, I believe that it plays cards like Dwarven Mine that when it comes into play untapped, you make a 1/1 dwarf, which you're able to play like 3 mountains on one turns 1, 2, and 3. Turn 4, you can go fetch Dwarven Mine, make a 1/1, and then you're able to Indomitable Creativity or Transmogrify, which Transmogrify basically does the same thing, except it requires a creature, not just an artifact. Um, and the deck is always going to find Arcana Cruelty, and that's where like the consistency of the deck comes from, because it just plays 4 of this card so it can find it, and it be the only card that it can find. Um, so Arcana Cruelty, it gets the Cruel Ultimatum, which like makes target opponent sacrifice a creature or planeswalker, which I don't think the original Ultimatum did that. So like Archon is kind of upgraded. They discard a card and lose 3 life. You draw a card and gain 3 life. Is pretty good. I guess technically you don't get to buy back a creature, but your opponent also has to sacrifice a planeswalker. But either way, very powerful. A 6-point life swing. Um, +2, I guess, technically on cards. They discard a card, you draw a card. I'm gonna call it +2, and they get to sacrifice a creature or a planeswalker. Notably good against like control, because obviously they don't normally play a lot of creatures. Like they have like Snapcaster Mages possibly, in some number, but like Teferi's just going bye-bye with this Archon, or even like Jaces and things like that are pretty good. Um, so obviously, as we've like read in Domino Creativity, you need artifacts and creatures to destroy it, and we found one way, and that's like Dwarven Mine plus like 3 other mountains to be able to make a 1/1. So we know this deck isn't only just using Dwarven Mine to make it. So how the heck are we going about it? Well, st limited staple hard evidence. I don't actually know if it's a limited staple. Please don't quote me on that. Creates an O3 crab and you investigate. So it actually makes a creature and a token, which obviously both of them are a little bit harder to interact with. Um, Obviously, I think the clue token more than anything being the hardest, at least in like the pre-board games. But hard evidence, making an O3 can block Ragavan notably, and kind of like hold down the ground and give you a few extra turns if you need it to kind of, get into this Indomitable creativity mode. Also, if both of them just get to live, if you have 5 mana, you get to creativity for 2 and put 2 Archons into play, which, ends the game very, very quickly, especially when Archon gets to also trigger on attack as well. Um, Probably sneakily a very good card. Obviously, they play 4 of it in the deck, so I mean, it does 2 things that they want to do, and cashes in for a card later if you need it to like find a creativity or a transmogrify, and the O3 blocks very well, in my opinion. You also have a copy of Persist, which you can return Archon. It comes into play with a -1/-1 counter, but you get an Archon in play and just get to do crazy dumb things. Continuing even further, you get like Prismari command to make like a treasure token, which can be used to uh, be destroyed with like indomitable creativity and go find an Archon. Fable the Mirror Breaker, technically like the 2/2 you could do it with, and when it attacks, makes a treasure token. Same thing with the treasure token, you can blow it up. Lets you dig deeper, and Kiki just getting 2 copy Archons is pretty gross because, like as we said, putting like multiples of these in play makes it very hard for your opponent to win, especially even if they are able to deal with one, you still have another one to swing, huge chunks of their life. Um, some of the other cards, like Lightning Bolt, Spell Pierce, Explore. Explorer obviously accelerates you and basically cycles, draws a card. Get to play an extra land. Get to like essentially trigger Dwarven Mines a lot sooner. Race up to like 5 or 6 mana to cast like your big Indomitable creativities. Spell Pierce giving you a little bit of interaction against like some of the more like the Murktide decks and things like that, where you can like get pretty far ahead of them, and then like Spell Pierce is just enough disruption to where you can stop what they're trying to do, which is basically disrupt you and play like a giant Murktide. Um, Lightning Bolt, clean cut interaction, deal 3 damage to any target. Card as old as time, like it's great. Lightning Bolt's good. Please put that on a t-shirt. Um, Finally, you have like Fire and Ice, which can be like a good tempo card, tapping down like an opponent's land to make it hard for them to interact with you, getting to draw a card after it. Fire, getting to live the potential dream of like killing a Ragavan and a Dragon Rage Channeler. Also, you could just like go face with this as like a little bit of reach, but the main function being some interaction for like the Ragavans and things like that. Um, Mana base, pretty simple. I mean, like you have like Blood Crypts, you have like Blood Crypt, Ketria Triome, Mountain, Steam Vents, Stomping Ground, and the Jund Triland. Obviously, noticing the theme of they're all mountains, so any land that you have in your deck that is not a fetch land can go get a mountain, and then obviously that lets you trigger like Dwarven Mine and things like that to then eventually set up like a Transmogrify. The sideboard looks like Flusterstorm for like more controlling decks. I would imagine like Flusterstorm and like Veil of Summer for like the control decks slash like Murktide decks. Beseiju just becoming like a card that shows up in the majority of like green based like decks or decks that can support it for the fact that It's very versatile in removal and doesn't get got by counter spells. Um, Dress Down is a card that has some weird interactions with it. Um, Enters the battlefield, you draw a card. Creatures lose all abilities. Beginning your end step, sacrifice Dress Down. You can really get your opponents that are playing like 4 color, where they're like playing like pitch elementals, or they have like Omnaths and things like that. Dress Down can like disrupt them for a turn. Mystical Dispute, more cheap interaction. Force of Vigor, because of the one of the best 2-for-2s that you can get in Magic currently. And Leyline of the Void, because people hate losing to the cycling decks. They hate losing to the living end decks. They hate losing to dredge and all those sort of things. And I don't blame them. In fact, I'd probably play a fourth one just because that's the hill I'm going to die on, is not losing to the dumb graveyard decks. And so that's the 4-color Archon of Cruelty deck. And actually, while I am thinking about it, one last like trick if you decide to pick up the deck, which is something that I didn't know actually, but it, I think makes sense because of the wording after I explain it. So creativity destroys the artifacts or creatures that it targets. If your opponent in response, say, blows up like the clue token that you're targeting with Indomitable Creativity, and that's like your only target, you can't search for a creature because you didn't destroy it with the Indomitable Creativity. If you have like multiple targets and all those targets get destroyed, you don't get to search any. If you have 2 targets and one of them gets destroyed, you only get to flip one because you only destroyed one creature artifact. So something to keep in mind, that removal can kind of disrupt this combo. I think makes it a little bit more fair, at least from the creativity version of it. Transmogrify, I believe, also getting the same treatment where like if the creature that you target is destroyed or gets exiled or whatever happens to it, you don't actually get to flip until you find a creature and put it into play. Um, so just a small little side note. This deck is very powerful. I've seen it played in paper like months ago during the Ohio Valley Invitational. I believe someone actually top 8'd or even made like top 4 or qualified with this deck. I don't know. I'd seen it running around. It was actually doing like very well. So I think another deck that I want to add to the list of I want to play this for like a video, just because the makeup of the deck and how it operates and this weird kind of dance it gets to play with like their creatures and the weird ways that your opponents can interact with it that might not actually be known, is all interesting to me. It's really sweet. Um, and anything playing like Jace the Mind Sculptor, like I don't even care if this card's like bad and modern. It's just like one of those cards that like I want to play just because of like the prestige of it, even if it's not that great. So let me know in the comments what you think of this deck, what you do to improve it, if you would play it the way it is, if you have played it, any of that fun stuff. Please let me know in the comments of this video. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, what the heck are you doing? Go ahead and toss me a subscribe or ring the notification bell so you know when I post videos. Really trying to post more and more each week, just kind of as life is kind of starting to settle down, things start getting crazy and all that. So I appreciate everyone's patience and I appreciate everyone's support so much. You know, like I said, it just keeps me making videos and battling through all the crazy. So that's gonna do for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and remember, I hope you win all your die rolls, that you're able to keep 7 cards, and that you never miss lethal. See you all in the next video.